What's happening, Bills Mafia? Ryan Thomas here, back again on the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. And of course, I am joined by a good buddy of mine, great friend of the show, colleague, pal, Swank of 24/7 Buffalo Fandemonium. What's going on, my man?
What is up, RT? What an exciting weekend. I can't believe that I made it to the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. I'm so stoked. And yeah, let's have a good time. Talk some Bills, man.
Yes, talk some Bills indeed. And for those of you that haven't seen me on Sunday sessions with you guys, 24/7 Buffalo Fandemonium is now a part of the fan base, along with yours truly, the Buffalo fan base, which has been awesome being a part of that, getting the chance to work with guys like Justice General, Blake Jordan, all those guys. It's been really fun, and I was really happy to see that you guys have joined the network and you guys are a part of it. So I'm really happy to say, like, in a way, I've worked with you guys for a while, but it's like, oh,
Yeah,
I could potentially work with you guys even more, which is good for you and good for me. Most importantly, good for the Bills Mafia with all the content that you guys have been putting out. You guys got Mark Maddox coming on this Tuesday, right?
this Tuesday, man, for the K Gun Report. Hell yeah. And I got
That'll
to
be
say,
awesome.
we had our first show as being part of the fan base this last Tuesday, and they've been incredible to us. And you are a huge reason as to why that kind of all decided to pan out, man. You're such a good dude and always been supportive and always talk super highly about them and that, and kind of a mentor. And we love you
That's
for it, man.
awesome.
So thank you so
That's
much.
awesome. I really appreciate that, man. Yeah, and anything I can do to help you guys out, you guys have been good to me as well. We had the show during the quote unquote off season or in the anticipation of the season at the Reinvention Brewing. I brought the little lady out too. She got to see me
Yeah,
in action, which was pretty cool. She got to see you in action on the mic talking sports, and then your band was playing,
yes,
which
sir.
was like, I'm sitting front row and I'm like, man, this guy is talented. Not only can he talk sports, but he can do the music thing too. I'm like, man, I thought, I thought, I'm like, man, he knows the stuff about sports, but then I'm like, I don't know which path this guy should go down. Both paths, like both.
I
They're two roads.
just go
It's pretty
straight with
awesome.
magic now. Jack of all trades, master of
Jack of
none.
all
Yeah.
trades. That's great. That's awesome, man. I've literally driving home. I'm like, I can't believe how good Swank was. Like, I knew he was
Oh,
good, but I'm like, I want to see this band again. So next
yeah.
time, next summer, as we inch closer, I know you'll be playing shows out in that area. And what region of Western New York is that? I always forget. What do they call that?
Really, we call it the Finger Lakes region,
Right.
and we started 24/7 started the FLX Mafia, which
Yes,
FLX
they
is
did.
short for the Finger Lakes, and
Yep.
just to kind of represent all that space between like the eastern edges of Buffalo all the way to like the western edge of Syracuse.
Right.
Finger Lakes are composed of, like, Canandaigua Lake, Seneca Lake. We have a ton of little lakes that the glaciers actually created when it came down through, and it's kind of like this beautiful little area, a lot of wineries, all that stuff, but a lot of small towns kind of spread out between these two big cities, and just south of Rochester. So we kind of like don't fit exactly anywhere, but try to rep everywhere. So we're trying to give a name to that FLX Mafia.
It's
And,
awesome.
yeah, the Derelicts, we play around a lot here. We're actually booking out into September.
Wow.
And I'm looking at a couple places in Buffalo that I've been talking to,
That's
possibly
awesome.
get out there. So we have to hook up and do that.
Yeah, anywhere you go, let me know. I'll find you for sure. I'll
Hell
I'll
yeah.
I'll, I'll make my way out there. I loved driving out there. I really liked that town that Reinvention was in.
Shortsville. Yep.
Yeah, that was really really fun. So yeah, definitely looking forward to more shows, whether it's 24/7 Buff Fandemonium or the Derelicts shows. That'll be really really cool. So I definitely wanted to bring that up right from the top. So, as you know, as the whole Western New York region knows, no matter where you're from, and I found out today just how far Bill's Mafia actually reaches. I posted a tweet this morning. I will paraphrase it. It is my phone battery has been destroyed based on this tweet that I posted earlier today, which is pretty awesome. I mean, anytime I can kill my phone battery because of a tweet, I'm more than willing to do it.
No
So
better feeling.
earlier, Yeah, it's a great feeling. So earlier today, I had a tweet that I posted. I need more members of Bills Mafia on my Twitter account so that we can all communicate. That's what I love. I love chatting with people that are Bills fans, finding out where they're from, finding out what made them a Bills fan, because I think when you're a Bills fan, it's like a bond. It's near and dear to your heart. There's probably someone might still be here, might not be here, that helped make you become a Bills fan, or there might just be a memory that made you a Bills fan and, continue your fandom. So basically, I said on my Twitter account, I want more Bills fans to follow me so that I can communicate with them. They can see my content. It's a win-win for everybody. Whether you are from Buffalo or not, tell me where you're representing the Mafia from. I got what is 18,000 views on that tweet.
Wow.
People from Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Erie, PA, Wilmington, North Carolina, Tonawanda, Massachusetts, Boston, East Pembroke, Western Canada, Calgary, as well as Ireland. I had someone from Ireland comment on one of my tweet, comment on the tweet with
That's
like
dope.
a Bills Irish kilt that I need for St. Patrick's Day.
Oh yeah,
Like
dude.
that's one that, and it was like red. It was like red, green, and orange, and I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So you definitely check that out. But the Bills Mafia has been so good to both of us in terms of when we started creating content and stuff like that. And I felt like, you know what, today it's Saturday, it's the eve of the game. I want to bring the Bills Mafia a great show to discuss this AFC wildcard game. We've got the Buffalo Bills, the Miami Dolphins tomorrow, opening up the action at 1 o'clock. No better time to watch football than Sundays at 1, right? No better time.
I mean, it's my favorite time, and I have a show tonight, so when everything was getting sorted out, I booked that like months ago, and I was like, please don't be Saturday night, please don't be
Yes.
Saturday night,
Yeah.
and it's not. So we're gonna have a good time, and then 1 o'clock tomorrow, baby. I can't wait.
I had reservations at Russell's with the lady,
Oh,
and I made
nice.
them last week for Saturday for today, and I was like, please God, please, please don't
But
do this to me.
then you're forced with that decision, right? Where you're like,
Yeah,
babe.
I would have, yeah, and that would have been a little rough. I mean,
Yeah.
for her and me, she's a big Bills fan as well, so that's
Mhm.
always good. But we got a big game, Bills Dolphins AFC wild card round. Going into this one though, I mean, every which quote unquote expert has the Bills winning this one. Jason La Canfora of CBS Sports got the Bills. Pete Prisco, he's predicting the Bills. Will Brinson, Bills. Jared Dubin, Bills. Seth Walder, Bills. Eric Moody, Bills. I could go on and on. Everyone thinks the Bills are going to win this game. I think they're going to win this game. You think they're going to win this game. But how are they going to do it? What would you say from the jump here? What are some Buffalo Bills keys to victory, as I like to say on the show? How do you think the Bills will win this game against the Dolphins?
I think overall, to start as a broad subject,
Mhm.
just lay on the gas. Do not let up. Keep your foot on their throat. I say that on the show all the time. I do not want to see them get complacent. I think they have so much momentum and so much drive and extra reasons to push them over the top that you really got to just stay on top of them. Don't get comfortable and lean into it. None of us want to see a lackadaisical, well, we're just thinking about next week. And day by day is the mantra of Sean McDermott and most of the people in that locker room. But I really want to see it. I just want to see him be aggressive on offense. I want to see him be aggressive on defense. Go after this rookie quarterback that doesn't have a huge starting resume here.
Right,
I've
right.
seen some Miami Dolphin fans be like posting college footage of him, and that's interesting.
When you're doing that, you're
You,
pretty desperate.
you're reaching, yeah,
We remember those days,
yeah,
and that's why we can say like, oh, when I'm posting JP Lossman highlights from 2004, 2003
yeah.
at Tulane, then we're really, or Trent Edwards or Jeff Toole or some of these guys that came along.
Rom,
Um, yeah, Brahm,
yeah,
that's another one. Yeah, and I definitely from what your perspective, Skylar Thompson getting the start. Mike McDaniel announcing that a couple days ago, kind of nipping the issue in the butt as soon as the media really brought it to his attention that hey, it's Wednesday and we don't know who the starting quarterback is for this AFC wildcard game, and
Yep.
he just said Skyler's starting, and it just kind of put the kibosh on that. Not only is Tua Tagovailoa out, but Raheem Mostert is out, and to me, just as big a loss for the Dolphins as Tua. Raheem Mostert being out in this one, that was really the one player in the second matchup with the Bills that really gashed Buffalo when they gave him the ball. How are you feeling about the fact that not only is Tua out, but Mostert is out as well? And how do you think that'll impact this matchup?
Well, I think Mostert is that 1-2 kind of punch that they have, right? Like Tua is that guy that can throw it up 5 yards within Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle, and one of them's going to catch it at least 5 out of 6 times, right? Like, so with that piece being removed, you would think lean on the run game. With Mostert being gone, I mean, you got your number one guy that's gashed us uh, throughout the year out too. I mean, they're really getting depleted. They were depleted before this stuff started happening. So to me, it's a little bit of a even playing field because we don't know if Jordan Phillips is going to play. Right? He showed
Right,
up on
right,
that injury report. Questionable, I think, is his designation right now.
right.
I would hope that he played, but he's a big part of that run stop game. Um, so I don't know. Part of me, like the competitor in me, is like I want everybody out there. I really didn't care if Tua started or not. You know,
Right.
I think that the Bills are good enough to do it. I think again they have enough motivation and drive that I would not want to be any team getting in the way of the Buffalo Bills going for that Lombardi this year.
Yeah, the motivation is just at an all time high, even in comparison to the Super Bowl years. I got some people commenting on the old days. I'm living in the now. I was barely, I was barely holding my binky in those years when the Bills were in the Super Bowl. I hate to admit that to age myself, but this is a new era of football, completely different from the past for a wide variety of reasons. The game is made safer and all that stuff. But truthfully, I feel that this is going to be a game that I think I'm going to say it. Okay.
Do
When
it.
I think of this game, I think of this game going no other way than the Bills blowing out the Miami Dolphins in what is horrific fashion for Dolphins fans.
I love it.
Which leads me to my next point, and I talked about this previously on Twitter. Actually, this morning, I woke up 6 a.m. and I'm going all day
Damn.
today, all day tomorrow.
Hell yeah.
So my thoughts are that if the Buffalo Bills blow out the Miami Dolphins, like I think they can, um, and the Dolphins look like they're not really in the game at any point, mentally or on the scoreboard, could we create the conversation? Could we start the conversation, quite possibly, that Mike McDaniel, the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, is one and done as a head coach of the Miami Dolphins? We've seen 5 teams fire their head coaches already on quote unquote Black Monday. And Sean McVay's making a return. There was wondering whether he was going to come back, so he's coming back, throwing that out there because I haven't talked about that yet.
Yeah.
But what do you think of that, Swank? And I want your thoughts on it. I feel this way based on the fact that they were 8-3 at one point. They finished the season with a 9-8 record due to the fact that they just fell apart. I mean, as a team, they simply fell apart. I think there were injuries, of course, but that was a steep drop off from 8-3 to 9-8, especially when the weather got a little bit worse. And the whole mismanagement of Tua, their franchise investment. What do you think about that? Do you think I'm crazy for saying that Mike McDaniel could be one and done, or do you think that there is legs to that thought?
I think that there's a lot of legs to that, and I think the big obstacle in the way of that is ownership. I think Miami's ownership is so different and weird to me. And maybe we're just spoiled because now we have Terry and we have this great GM and coaching combo. And we went through this crazy, crazy trauma and time with DeMar Hamlin. And all I've heard is how great Sean McDermott has handled it, and the team has handled it, from players, from outside people, from the press, from everybody, other teams. Like, and so to look back on the Dolphins' history here as of late, in what, just the last 3 seasons, you have scandal after scandal. You have the Tom Brady stuff. You have the mismanagement of Tua before the concussions came. You have Brian Flores. You have stripped picks. You have all this crazy stuff. And I'm turning around and looking at that like, how has the ownership of the Miami Dolphins handled all that? you know.
Right.
So now you have this guy, Mike McDaniel. He's a flashy guy. He came out hot. He beat the Bills, who were the hot team at the time. He's got a little swagger. Um, I mean, it's AIS syndrome to me, you know,
Hmm.
like he's packing the house because he's making it interesting. You got Tyreek Hill, blah, blah, blah. Um, I personally think that he's a fraud. I think if you took everything that happened to them this season and applied it to the Buffalo Bills, the national media would have a field day. If
They
we
would.
went and lost 7 games out of the last 8, you know, and barely scraped into the playoffs with a ridiculous, like, I don't care who you are, man. If it's 6-6 and you're winning by a field goal and then a blown freaking backwards pass, kind of whatever, home run ball, try to finish this thing right thing. I don't know. That's just, it's sad. They cannot bring that into Buffalo tomorrow. There's no
No.
way. And that is like a big part of my confidence in why I think this is going to be a blowout and a comfortable second half for Bills fans tomorrow.
And going back to the points that you touched on in terms of Mike McDaniel being a fraud, I completely eviscerated Mike McDaniel in one of the last, actually it was Wednesday's show, where I talked about specifically a moment in time where I realized that this guy was in way over his head, and it goes all the way back about 17, 18 weeks ago, however many weeks ago it was, where the Bills did lose to the Miami Dolphins. The two teams that we're talking about playing for the third time, this is the rubber match. I will
Mhm.
throw that out there. They did lose to
Absolutely.
them in week 3. We beat them later in the season at home in Orchard Park. But that week leading up to that game, what happened in that game, and especially what happened after that game, one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen as a football fan. Mike McDaniel, arms raised in the air like Sylvester Stallone on top of the Rocky steps, like they had just won the Super Bowl. Worse than that, something that is like near and dear to actually the Miami Dolphins, something that they invented as a part of their undefeated season was the Gatorade shower.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to see Mike McDaniel be doused in red and blue Gatorade, which was symbolic in its own way, obviously, and to act like they were going to just run the table of the entire NFL, let alone the AFC East, after he was given that Gatorade shower. That was the moment when he was given that Gatorade shower. I swear, that was the moment where I said to myself, this team is going to crash and burn, because it's so easy to celebrate wins in September. It's really hard to get through the dog days of a season when you're going up against Buffalo, when you're going up against New England in Orchard Park in New England as the Miami Dolphins. And it's funny, as soft as that whole thought was that, oh, well, this team's not tough enough to play in cold weather. And they weren't. They lost pretty much every game, with the exception of one this past week in the November and December. Their season deteriorated. But worse than that, I really think that's an embodiment of how I can't word it any other way, how mentally weak Mike McDaniel actually is in terms of when things are going good, he's good. All that shtick, that sarcasm, that funky, nerdy shtick that he has. When you're winning, it's one thing, but when you're
Sure.
losing, it looks really, really bad. And to me, I don't know what their long term hopes are for Mike McDaniel, but when you have teams chomping at the bit to get a Sean Payton as their next head coach, that's a guy that I'd want. That's a guy that would demand respect of all the talent that they have. They do have a lot of talent. I'm not going to sugarcoat that.
Hmm.
But do they have a coach that actually can demand the respect of the talent? Is the talent running that organization? Is guys like Tyreek Hill saying what you tweeted, which I
Yeah.
want to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Um, does that show you that potentially that everything, and I want you to fill the people in on it if they didn't see it yet, everything that you saw in that little clip of Tyreek Hill's tweet, does that kind of signal like is something going on here with Mike McDaniel that we're not really privy to?
I mean, so many great takes in that. I love the take about McDaniel's and when he's winning, all that stuff. Like, all I can think of is like when you're winning and you have that kind of like swaggery, nerdy stuff. It's endearing. When you're losing, it's arrogant.
Right.
Totally arrogant. Doesn't come off as cute. It doesn't matter. Your personality and everything that you've built for your brand goes out the window when you lose seven of the last eight. So great takes, man. The Tyreek tweet, if you didn't see it or the video, he was quoted from a press conference. I think it was either early this morning or late yesterday, um, as saying that when he came from Kansas City, that was a great team, and it's a different story basically here in Miami, and it's different, and you gotta get accommodated and all this stuff. And to me, that speaks volume as to the kind of player that I think most of us knew Tyreek Hill was. He's a very like me ball kind of guy, I think.
Right.
Um, I think that he was trying pretty hard to sell the whole Tua is God kind of concept, and more accurate than Patrick with a better deep ball and all that stuff. A lot of people seem to forget what was said at the beginning of the season with all this because they had that first half of the season of success and was like, wow, maybe Tyreek's right. But if you're going back and you're looking at Tua's balls, like I said, man, he's got a 5 yard radius around any guy, and I I'd be damned to say that you or I could go out there and huck it up, you know.
I know,
With,
I know, I could.
yeah,
I really
yeah,
do. Maybe
yeah,
not at the level that I used to, but I know I could throw a 30-yard
sure,
dart. You know,
sure,
I
and he'd
think
get
I
there.
could.
He'd
I
get
think
there.
I could. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, not to discount anything. I actually, I like Tua as a guy.
I do too.
I think that's the
Yep.
saddest part of the whole story is he's just getting slammed, and they're not protecting him from himself. He's
Right.
getting hurt, and his life is literally hanging in the balance, and they just didn't care enough. They wanted to win games. That's what translates to me. Um, so yeah, as far as Tyreek goes, I mean, and McDaniel, I don't think McDaniel really has the hold on this team that he appears to have. He's trying to be their buddy. You can look at
Hmm.
all these clips, joking around and all that stuff, and all that stuff is good. And I got to tell you, it makes for great entertainment. I don't know if it's bringing a team together, especially in this kind of situation where you're on your third string quarterback. You have to win. It's a 1 week league, every game out to the Super
Yep.
Bowl right now. And you need to have your leaders like a Tyreek Hill in that locker room saying, hey, he's the next guy up. And we're going into Buffalo and we know these guys and we're going to give them hell. That's what I
Yeah.
want my guy to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if Mike McDaniel isn't, a more like prominent pillar in that locker room and in those uh, classrooms saying, hey, look at this is what we are and what we're doing. And I need all of you to believe in it. And I'm looking at all the leaders in this team to believe it. That's what Sean McDermott does.
Hmm.
Like, if you guys don't realize how lucky we are to have a guy like Sean McDermott, just look to any other coach. Like,
Look to
nearly
any
any
other
other.
coach. Look to any other coach and any other coach that has dealt with as much adversity as what he is.
Yeah,
I have never seen anything like it.
no,
I never in any team, any season. I mean, maybe since like the St. Louis Rams when they lost Trent Green and Kurt
yeah,
Warner came in and lit the world on fire. Like that's the only thing that I can compare it to in terms of the adversity. It's just, and that's just a play. That's a football thing. Like this city, this region has endured so much for so long. But this year was unlike anything in terms of May 14th, in terms of it all started with Matt Ariza and that
yeah.
situation.
Jeez.
Kim Pagula's health was a huge concern for all of us. We all love Kim. Thoughts and prayers are with her consistently, of course. She's going through her medical issue that, for the sake of privacy, they didn't want to announce that, and I fully respect that.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I've just top to bottom the injuries, but there is light at the end of the tunnel, and that's my talking point to my next to what I think is like a key to victory is the fact that maybe we won't see it this week, but we might see number 23 suit up next week as the Bills take on whoever they take on. We don't know yet, but what were your thoughts when you heard the news potentially that Micah Hyde could be making a unprecedented comeback far sooner than what my mind thought would happen?
Can we talk about that, just that day? That day
That
we
day
got
was incredible.
three three pieces of news that all came in within like an hour of each other. I feel like after, like you were saying, the horrible racial motivated shooting at Tops and Kim Pagula, and then you're talking Von Miller goes down. You're talking Micah Hyde goes down. Those little things, you're talking about Murph, play guy,
Yeah, John
he's,
Murphy.
and then
Yep.
Damar with like and just all this stuff. And man, being so low, but like slowly building back up as DeMar gets better and you're starting to get some little good news. And then all of a sudden that day, you hear, and dude, you can go back to the K-Gun on Tuesday, literally the day before. I know it was a Wednesday because on Tuesday night, people were asking us on the K-Gun, hey, there's this big announcement that everybody's talking about. Could it be Micah Hyde? And I was like, look, I was listening to One Bills Drive and Steve Tasker and Chris Brown. And they said, I'll stop it out right now. They said, there's no way.
They did.
Like, and I doubled down on it. Like, hey man,
Yeah.
there's an inside take that went out on the radio, but like I know about it, and I'm gonna stand right behind it and say, there's no way. And literally the next day, he's at practice with a non-contact, and I'm just like, dude, I'll happily eat crow. Like, there's no, I have no problem with that because this is like some of the best news. And you had that, and then you had DeMar going home,
Yeah.
in that same day, and then you had Tua. Like, I know you're not supposed
Jamison
to
Crowder too.
Jamison Crowder coming
Yeah.
back. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just like all this stuff in one day where I was like, oh my God, like we were so low. And to think of where we were the week previous, the
Yes.
Tuesday after, and now
Right.
all of a sudden you're getting like these great guys back. DeMar's home, like, and the starting quarterback that you're going up against is out, which I know it's not something to root for, but like it's definitely a talking point. It makes me feel a little better about the ass whooping that we're about to give.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I said it yesterday. I felt like they have more of a chance with Tua against the Bills because Tua does give them the best chance to win in comparison to Teddy Bridgewater and Skylar Thompson. Of course he does. That's just based on who Miami has. But in all honesty, when you look at Tua, he's a very tough player for me to evaluate. I put it this way. I feel like Tua has the capability to be good. I don't think he has the capability to be great. I think it would take, 3 Tyreek Hills and 2 Jalen Waddles at wideout for Tua to be decent. And that I don't mean that in any slight, but now with all the injuries that he has had, I mean, that to me is my biggest talking point as to why Mike McDaniel could potentially be a one and done coach, how he horribly mismanaged their investment, and he inherited Tua. He didn't draft him. I understand that, but he took that job knowing that Tua was the guy that they went out and drafted, 4th or 5th overall, whatever it was, and that they needed him to get cooking in order for the franchise to be on the better path that they need to be on. And they do have a decent. I mean, their fan base is nowhere near as good as ours, but they have diehard fans. Some of those fans I know actually that live here. And they want to see the Dolphins get back to where they used to be, where the Bills with Jim Kelly and the Dolphins with Dan Marino were battling neck and neck. But I think Miami is far away from where the Bills are. They might have both made the playoffs. They're playing in the same round, same moment in the playoffs. But the Bills won the AFC East pretty easily. Miami just trotted through, skated by in November and December, limped their way into the playoffs, if you will. I don't see it, and I think they're actually going to get worse next year rather than better. And that's That's my thoughts on that. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're dead on. I think it's really funny if you look at it. Look at how much uh, the most hated team in the AFC East, how quick it flipped. You know,
Hmm.
like
It
all
it
it took was
flipped.
one
Yeah.
season of the Patriots not being exactly who they want to be or who they normally are, and now all of a sudden you got this like cocky head coach. You got Tyreek Hill talking junk to Jordan Poyer in the offseason. You got man. It's like, oh, this rivalry is like serious and back. And then they beat us week one, and it's like, like this is a real thing. Who cares about the Patriots? The Patriots are old news, man. Like, and it's all about the Dolphins. Um, yeah, it's crazy thinking about where they're going to be next season. To me, you lost those draft picks.
Right.
And I think if you really are all about Tua Tagovailoa being your starting quarterback, your first three picks in the draft should be offensive line. You should be trading for offensive line. You should be doing everything in your power to protect that kid so
Yeah.
that he can stand back there and lob bombs at Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle for the next couple of years. If you're not doing that and he's not taking care of himself and you don't have a plan in place to make sure that he is, and that's saying that he doesn't get talked out of even coming back at all, you
Hmm.
know. But it does seem to me that McDaniels is being reckless. He folded to like the popular opinion and kind of tried to take other steps. But you're looking at footage of all these hits, these three hits. You know, the Milano hit to me, you can argue all you want, wasn't dirty to me.
Hmm.
Um,
That happens
well,
every week.
it
Happens
happens
every
every
week.
single week.
Every single week.
But what happened after that when he hit his head off the thing, he stood up and he's, that that is it. Like
Hmm.
that dude should never have came back in that game. And I'm not saying it because they won and whatever. That dude should not have came back in that game.
Right.
Then you go to the next one and it's like, what is going on? Why is he even getting now a third chance? And then he bounces his head off the turf at the Green Bay game, and now you got three within what, 2 months of each
Two
other?
months.
Yeah.
Three within one season. Like just that. Like just three within one season. I've never seen a quarterback suffer those two. No quarterback has been allowed to suffer two concussions in that close proximity to one another.
No.
And I truthfully I can't wrap my head around it. I'll never understand it. I don't think the guy's great. I think the guy can be good, but man, they robbed that kid
Oh
of a
yeah.
future. I
Oh
think
yeah.
that if he was smart, he would take his personality, take his good looks, and maybe get into some sort of entertainment. Start
Yeah.
acting or something like that. He seems like a smart
Yeah.
dude. Like why put yourself out there for further risk? I mean, I think he's got a lot of potential to do other things that don't involve him getting his head smacked around with a coach that doesn't really seem to care about his health.
Hey
You
man,
know,
he could go into coaching, he could go into broadcasting, he could go
right,
into a lot. I mean, his story, and like you said, he's a likable guy, man. Like I do not hate Tua at all. I don't like the way he plays. I don't like his style of play. Like you said, I don't think he's anything more than a manager. And I think that he's like not an average manager. I think he's a less than average game manager.
right.
Um, but you have this speed and stuff. There's a reason that we didn't see any of this until this season, right? So I guess Mike McDaniels can hang his hat on that, but any good that he possibly could have built into Tua completely got wrecked by the way that he handled those situations with the concussions.
Yeah, the one and done, man. If I was the owner of that team, I would look at things from a broad scope and say, Mike McDaniel or Sean Payton. I got a lot of money. I can go out, pay Sean Payton to be my head coach, overpay him to be my head coach, just to bring some respectability back. And I know
Yeah.
Sean Payton's had his own name tossed around, dragged through the mud. It was largely Greg Williams' fault, but
Mm-hmm.
I man, if I'm a Dolphins fan, I'd be thinking we're in trouble. I
Yeah.
would be thinking that no quarterback, a head coach that doesn't really seem like he's the right guy. I just don't see it. I don't see it. And if I'm Tyreek Hill, that guy sold his soul for money. I mean, he could have been
Yep.
a Hall of Fame wide receiver, immortalized in Canton. If he would have stayed in Kansas City, they would have continued to be a juggernaut with him as their wide receiver. And he just went for the money. And some guys, credit to him. I'm not faulting him for that.
Yeah.
But some guys prioritize money over legacy, and I think he's going to regret it. I really do. I think he's going to greatly regret it when he's got Skylar Thompson or Teddy Bridgewater or whoever they decide to get throwing him the ball, because it's not like they have a great cap situation either. So it's going to be very interesting to see. So with that, all that being said, you said earlier in the show, pound the rock, so to speak, in terms of putting the foot on the throat was what you said in regards to the Bills defensively in this one. Knowing that they got Skylar Thompson ahead, knowing that they got Jeff Wilson Jr., not Raheem Mostert, I feel like defensively we got all the momentum in our favor, but offensively, Miami's defense is pretty good. They can generate pressure. They were able to do it against Buffalo. That's why those games were both really close. From what I saw, what do you think Buffalo needs to do offensively to kind of combat that and to kind of be a little bit more diverse than what they were the first two matchups?
Well, I got one name for you, and he's coming on. And ever since his first touch where he put the ball on the field, he has not fumbled again. I'm going Mr. James Cook. Mr. James Cook needs to be fed the rock. And I think when you're looking at, I love Motor. It was so unfortunate that he put that ball on the turf.
I
It was so
know.
I hated it. And I love the 1-2 punch that they give. But James Cook is slowly progressed into becoming a very consistently good production player on this offense. And
Right.
I think the most beautiful thing about it is there's not a lot of tape on him.
Nope.
And
Yep.
I think that you can start doing some of these things that maybe Dorsey has hopefully held back, and start getting him the ball in more creative ways, and that'll open up a lot more. If you can get this running game going, you get James Cook going, you got Bees that's signed to the 53-man roster, um, playoff Josh Allen. I mean, I think James Cook is the key to unlocking this whole offense right now. And I don't know if that's too bold of a statement to make, but to me, if you get him going, everything falls in line, and you're looking at week 1, week 2 type production.
I don't think it's bold at all. I think it's actually brilliant because I agree with you 100%. I've been pounding the drum for the Bills to have some sort of run game. I feel like I'm my grandpa back when he would yell at the TV to run the ball, run the ball. Like give it to Thurm, give it to Travis Henry, or give it to whoever, some of the others, McGahee or Lynch. I remember they'd throw the ball with J.P. Lossman to Robert Royal. With all due respect, I'm like, come on, man. We got Marshawn Lynch for heaven's sake. Like, let's get our shit together here. The dude could not be tackled ever at any point in his career, and they wouldn't give him the ball, 35 times a game. It just made no sense to me. No. But in terms of what you said, I agree with you 100%. That's a very interesting take because I was thinking of this morning. In terms of not looking ahead, but I want to win the damn Super Bowl first and foremost. But looking ahead, you really wonder what this Bills run game is going to look like because James Cook is coming on. It appears as if Ken Dorsey, and we'll talk about him in a minute, but it appears as if Ken Dorsey really wants to get this kid involved and get him involved early and often. But you wonder, Devin Singletary is on a free agent, or he's going to be a free agent. He's on the last year of his contract. Will they keep him long term? What will that look like if they do? You got Naheem Hines, who made his impact last week. He had 2 kickoff returns for a touchdown. Yeah. Who's under contract, who's always been good, and it was an acquisition that I really liked. So, I agree with you. I think they're going to continue to get James Cook the ball. They're going to keep Miami's defense on the field, wear them down like Miami tried to wear us down in the first matchup. And I think that James Cook is going to have a day tomorrow. I think that could be, wow, this rookie running back that was a second-round pick out of Georgia. They didn't really use him a lot through the season, but for whatever reason, they're just really using the guy now. Mm-hmm. I think you're onto something. I think Ken Dorsey kind of tucked that dude in his back pocket and said, watch this guy come wild card round, divisional round, championship, Super Bowl, potentially, I agree with you. I think James Cook is a huge key to victory in this one and beyond.
I know a lot of people were really upset with him getting benched early on in the
Hmm.
season and all that stuff. And you know, I I'm torn between like the old school, like you put it on the turf, you ride the pine, and then
Right.
the well, give him a shot. How is he going to get better if he doesn't get touches? Um, it seems like James's personality is very like right down the middle.
Hmm.
He doesn't talk a lot, doesn't show a lot of emotion. Bill's social media has a field day anytime they catch him smiling with a pitcher on the sideline. You know what I mean? Like I think he's all work. He's all
Yeah.
business. And I think him having to ride and then getting his feet underneath him. I don't know. Do you remember that one press conference with Stefan Diggs where he was talking about, yeah, James got his. He's got to keep his feet underneath him though, like because
Yeah.
he was slipping all the time.
Right.
And I was like, he's like a little puppy, man. Like he doesn't know
Right.
how his legs work yet, and he's just. But it seems like all that stuff's gone. He gets the ball and he goes.
Right.
His cuts are decisive. He runs hard, leading the league, rookie running backs for yards per carry. It's just, I think he's there, and I think the benching was warranted. I think it's all worth it. It's all worth trust the process, follow
Right.
the plan, all that stuff. There's something to it,
Yeah.
and he's there running with purpose right now. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, I think I agree with you 100%. As far as his background playing at Georgia, going from Georgia, where the expectations are high in the SEC, to Buffalo, where the expectations are very high based on what we've done these last couple seasons, he was ready for that. He was ready for that, but I think once he was thrusted in it in the NFL grand scheme of things, might have been a little bit too much too soon in
Yeah.
terms of what he anticipated. And maybe his nerves got to him a little bit, and especially in some of those early weeks where he was tripping over his own feet and he was putting the ball on the ground in week one against the Rams and things like that, that kind of set a negative tone towards his skill set. But his skill set is there. I mean, this dude can make guys miss. He's got great yards after catch ability. He can catch, which is something that I always love in a running back, a guy that catches the ball out of the backfield, much like Thurman Thomas. So
Mhm.
Ken Dorsey's got him in his back pocket, but Ken Dorsey's got some decisions to make apparently that could be coming. I want to nip this one in the butt just in the event that we hear something in the coming days. I hope we don't. For obvious reasons, that would mean the Bills' season would be coming to an end, but that's
Yeah.
not going to happen. Ken Dorsey and his future. Obviously, the Carolina Panthers, they are interested in him. They requested permission to interview Ken Dorsey as their next head coach. What are your thoughts on the possibility of not just Ken Dorsey going to the Carolina Panthers, but Ken Dorsey taking a head coaching job, Arizona, Carolina, or some of the other available openings that are in the National Football League right now?
I uh I mean, right out the gate, I think it's too soon.
Hmm.
I think every coach that's their ultimate goal, right? In the NFL is to work your way up through the ranks and become a head coach. Why would you ever turn it down if it was offered to you? So I mean, if they ultimately do offer him a job, and I think Carolina would probably be the most likely place. He's still got connections there between everything that happened previous with the McDermott stuff and blah 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 blah. There's guys there that know Dorsey. Um, I would love to see him stick around here for at least another season or two and really get rooted in with Josh and get on that same page. I think they have a really great relationship. I think you're just scratching the surface. And I really think all of the criticism that he's had or whatever throughout the year, there's been a little bit here and there, right?
Yeah.
And I always go back to like, Dorsey never got this. Dorsey never got criticized from the pundits, like the national pundits,
Oh, you
the
mean
way
Dable?
what I say.
You said Dorsey?
I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Dable.
Yeah.
Dable never got criticized the way that Dorsey is right now, and
Hmm.
Dorsey has a better season put together to me. I mean,
Yeah.
numbers are like almost identical. They
Right.
played one less game, and he already won more games than Dable did last year. So I don't know. I don't know where this all this kind of comes from. Maybe Dable's just like that feel good story, and everybody just accredits Josh Allen's success to him. But I'll say that Dorsey is like I think he's done a great job, and I think he's just getting his feet wet. And I think another season or two, man, like I'd really love to see him stick around and work it. You know?
Yeah, I agree in that sense. And when I first heard the story, I honestly I scoffed at it. I gave it a look. I read a couple things, but it
Yeah,
was like reading Ken Dorsey's bio, which some of it I already knew from his playing days with the U. So I was just like, it's just like a nostalgic read in parts. There is no chance in hell, no chance in hell, no snowball's chance in hell that Ken Dorsey leaves Josh Allen, James Cook, Stephon Diggs, Dawson Knox, and even the guys that are like on the bubble of this Bills roster that are like barely on the team offensively, like backup offensive linemen. I'll go
yeah.
down the line. There is no chance in hell that Ken Dorsey leaves those guys
He's not leaving Bobby Hart.
for right. Bobby Hart is near and dear to Ken Dorsey's heart. He's not leaving for the shit show that
Yeah,
is the Carolina Panthers.
yeah,
They don't have anybody. I can't name outside of DJ Moore. I can't name anybody on that team that is even remotely decent. And I would be shocked. I'd be shocked. I think Ken Dorsey's a very smart guy, and there was a reason why he took this job, knowing that it could potentially provide him an avenue, a path to being a head coach. But man, you got a chance to really sink your teeth in this league as an offensive coordinator and do it with a guy that is unlike anybody else at quarterback like Josh Allen. I'd be shocked. I just don't see it. I mean, he'd have to go to a team that if, and I agree with you that Carolina is probably the best opportunity for him just because of the guys that he knows that are still within the organization. But that's the worst one in terms of personnel. So
yeah.
it's like he doesn't really have a lot to go off of unless they want to give him a 5-year run and draft a quarterback for him to groom. But who is that guy in this class? Who is that guy that he would be interested in to do that with? I couldn't give you. There's not one guy. There's not an Andrew Luck in this quarterback
Yeah.
class. So there's not a guy that a new head coach would sink their teeth into and say that's the guy that I'm going to build this franchise around. At least from what I see. So I think he's going to stay. I think Ken Dorsey's going to be here a long time, much longer than what Dable was. Maybe I'm a little bit cautiously optimistic on that, but it seemed like Dable, with his background with Bill Belichick, was really only planting seeds to leave. I always saw him leaving. It was just a matter of time. Whereas Ken Dorsey is so green as an offensive coordinator and has had so much success despite that, that I just don't see it. I'd be really tough for him to leave if it were me, if I were him,
Yeah.
if I should say. So, yeah, I completely agree with you on that. And Scott wants to chime in. He says, and Dorsey has won more one-score games, unlike Dable, which is also true. And you guys know, like I didn't want Dable here really beyond the first year. I thought he stunted Josh Allen's development actually, and a lot of people, I had Dan Fates on the show, who's a guy that I really love and enjoy,
Great
and we
dude.
went back and forth on that. He disagreed with me, and that's okay. Disagreements are
Yeah.
good sometimes, but I think much like Mike McDaniel, when times were good, when the Giants were winning, he was getting the
Cigars.
cigars and
Yeah.
the dancing and all
Oh,
that stuff.
yeah.
Then they started losing, and no one was really talking about him. So let's just keep that in perspective,
Yeah. I
right?
I agree 100%, man. We talk about it before on sessions and all that stuff,
Yeah.
but like I just never was a real big, huge Dable fan. I think he's a pretender, and I think he's really shown kind of like that similar path the Dolphins, like different,
Mhm.
obviously different offense, but
Right.
like the trajectory, like the end of the season, they just
They
like
tanked.
squeaked into the playoffs, just like
Right.
the Dolphins squeaked. Well, not exactly, but similar, right? And
Similar. Yeah.
you really, if you had no Saquon Barkley, what would that team be right now?
They'd be
You know,
terrible.
and
Yeah.
it's I don't know. I just don't see it. I really don't see it.
I don't see it either. So to the next talking point, I have just my thoughts on what we've seen this season thus far. Give me just your thoughts on the Buffalo Bills season, the 2022 regular season for the Buffalo Bills. What did you love about it? What did you think maybe they could have done better? As we hopefully embrace what is this run to winning the first Super Bowl in franchise history.
I mean, what could they have done better?
Mm-hmm.
They've improved on their record from last year. They had a harder schedule. Uh, AFC East champs again. You can't scoff at this stuff. Maybe I'm a little bit of a goober because growing up, I do remember the Super Bowls. I was old enough to sit there and watch that live, and I do remember the drought. Like that. That's really what
The drought was
enforced.
horrible.
Yeah, dude.
It was
Well,
horrible.
the Super Bowl run was like, I'm a little kid, like, I love the Bills. They always
Yeah.
win. And then when you really get into it, that's exactly when they started to fall off, and then you're like, what's going on for 17 years? But I always say, like, enjoy these times. There was a time where we were packing our bags and waiting for the draft at, this weekend. It wasn't
Yeah.
anything to do with playoff hopes or you were hoping 18 teams didn't do something so that you can maybe squeak in the back door. Um, it's not like that anymore. And I'll say it, man, it's not going to be an issue for us getting into the playoffs for a long time. Like with this front office, with Josh Allen, with the way they structure things and do things, people want to be here. They want to play here. They want to play hard. So enjoy that. I will say, I think, the injury bug, man, that's never been a thing for the Bills since Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane have taken over. I think that the Pagulas do a great job with their training facility. Players say that it's top notch, best in the league in every aspect. And how do you prevent that? I don't know. Between Vaughn and Micah and all that stuff, really, it's just,
It's just bad luck, I
bad
think.
luck, man.
Yeah.
Bad luck. I think, I know I just sang his praises, but Dorsey being a first year coordinator, maybe some more creative game planning around Josh's arm.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that, like, I really think took a back seat. People were talking about the regression of Josh Allen. I think that's all BS. I think he was just kind of playing the way he knew he had to play because he knew that his arm wasn't going to last the whole game, right?
Right.
So when he saw an opportunity, he threw it, whether it was going to be accurate or not. And that's what you get with a gunslinger and a kid that doesn't want to lose. Take the good with the bad. So maybe just some better adjustments. And I think the injuries were just a damn shame. But here we are, man. We're fighting and we're going. If I summed up this season in one word, I would just say, man, pride. Like like all of the crap and just horrible things that have happened to this city, this team, this fan base. But all the good that came out of it, man.
Right.
Just all the good and still driving. And again, I cannot say enough about Sean McDermott and this organization. And Bean said it in his press conference, I think, from Cincinnati or after he got back from Cincinnati, saying, how do you know any other coach in the NFL that could have a team at 12-3? This was obviously before New England. 12-3 through all this adversity. There's not one.
There
And
isn't.
I agree.
There isn't. Yeah, and there's no one that could have. There's no one else that could have done it with this team. That's
No.
another that's another point. Not even just in general with their own team, but with this group of guys with all the expectation that was weight on everyone's shoulders prior to the season. Every magazine, every newspaper saying that, every site, every podcast saying that the
All the
Buffalo
hype.
Bills were going to run the table of the entire NFL. That is pressure. Whether they
Oh,
have
yeah.
the team to do it or not, that is pressure. And I agree with you. I liked how you said one word, and it was pride. My one word is inspiring or inspirational. In terms of what we know, in terms of the past, in terms of the drought, in terms of post kind of trying to get better, with Tyrod and Rex Ryan coming and bringing in Tyrod, and then Sean McDermott takes over. Really, since Sean McDermott took this team over, this is a completely different organization, completely different culture, completely different attitude towards the game and towards the community. And there is oftentimes I'm just amazed by each and every player that they've brought in, there is no concern whatsoever about character or lack of character. Character is like high on the list in terms of what they value, and this is like, I'll say this, and these guys, they're near and dear to all of our hearts. But the Buffalo Bills of years past, those Super Bowl teams, they liked to party.
Oh,
And
yeah.
God bless them. Like I don't have a problem with it. I'm not saying anything bad about it. But these guys on this Buffalo Bills team, they're like just good guys.
Yeah.
They just play football and go home.
Yeah.
Like I can't I don't know how else to word it other than that, but it's like it amazes me that the players on this team that are so famous that could go out and do whatever they want, they're so dialed in. And I really believe it's their coach. I really believe it's McDermott and the staff and just the tone of that locker room. You see it when the social media people post the locker room speeches. It's like, wow, that's why this team is where it's at. And man, it's inspiring. It's inspirational. I'm really excited to see tomorrow's game take place, and I'm feeling really good about just the state of the team. I mean, whatever happens, I think they're going to win the Super Bowl. I really do. But whatever happens, this team is in good hands, and it's going to be in good hands for a long, long time.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at just leading by example,
Right.
Sean McDermott's come in here and he's been that guy ever since he walked in the door. He learned every single staff member's name, every single player that comes in. If you're listening to responses to questions, it's got to be just like a blanketed, like, uh, kind of response, or like they talk about it as a team, like, okay, this is us, this is what we do, and
Hmm.
when you come across these questions, we're all together. This is
Right.
this is what we do. And if you listen to Tremaine Edmonds, or you listen to Josh Allen, or you listen to Stephon Diggs, or you listen to any of these dudes, Mitch Morse, they all say pretty much the same thing.
They
And it's
sound the
not,
same.
yeah, it's not like Manchurian candidate. It's like they believe it,
Yeah.
and that comes
Right.
all from Sean McDermott and him being that guy. So
It's awesome.
yeah,
That's what I love the most about this team is the culture of it. So we got other NFL wildcard picks. I'm
Mhm.
gonna tee it up for you as we wrap up the show here.
Sure.
We got the Seahawks and 49ers today at 4:30. Who do you got in that one?
I like him Purdy, man. I think Brock
Yeah. All right.
Purdy's just going to go. I think Gino's a great story, man. I think it's so cool to me that that dude was simmering on the shelf, all the jokes, the years and years and years, and the Jets and all
He's
this stuff.
carrying the torch for EJ.
Yeah, man. That's it. Too. That's it. Maybe that's why I like it so much. It's a great story, and it wouldn't bother me. But man, I like Brock Purdy, dude. I like the Niners. I
I
think
do
it'd be
too.
an amazing '90s flashback Super Bowl if them and the Bills got in. It'd be
That
great.
would be nice. That would be nice.
Good.
Yeah, I got the 49ers as well. Chargers and Jaguars. Who do you got for that one?
Chargers history, and I respect Herbert and everything he can do, but I think the Jags are red hot, and I think they're going to win.
I thought the same thing. I think the same thing. I think Trevor Lawrence is like the hottest quarterback in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
In terms of the
Well, it's the
last like
hair.
5 or 6 weeks, he's got the sunshine. Remember the Titans hair. Dolphins, Bills. We don't even need to go
No,
there. Let's just go
no.
Bills. Giants, Vikings. This is one that I'm a little bit. I don't know what to make of this one. Fill me in on your thoughts.
Um, so it's funny when we were picking these on the K gun, and I was talking like I just don't like Dable. I don't like it. I don't believe in him. I just don't. I'll give him his respect and his props, and I know, like, I think a lot of casual fans and content creators and all these people, like, they get in a spot where, like, I just don't like that guy. He can't win, and I'm not trying to be that way, but I am that way, and I think that I said Dable, I think, is a pretender. I also think Kirk Cousins and the Vikings are not what the record is.
They are
And
not.
I
That's a
see,
fact.
yeah. And I see this game, neither team scores over 20, but the Vikings squeak it out. That's the way I see it.
You know what's crazy? If you really think of this, this actually just popped into my head, by the way, as you were saying that about the Vikings being pretenders. if the Buffalo Bills had beaten the Minnesota Vikings, everything that went on with, the Damar Hamlin situation and battle wouldn't have even mattered because we would have only had 2 losses on our record,
Yeah.
whereas KC has 3, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That
Crazy.
stinking game, man.
I
That
know.
game pissed me off. So,
No.
unfortunately, with that being said, I am going to go with the Vikings as well.
Yeah.
The next one on the list here tomorrow night, 8:15, right after the Giants and Vikings at 4:30. You got the Ravens and the Bengals at 8:15. How do you see that one going down?
So I know that Jackson came out and said he's not going to come in until he's ready. Is he out? Is he officially ruled out?
I don't think they officially ruled him out yet.
Okay.
But man, that situation has me scratching my head too. Like, what quarterback that's in the playoffs, no matter what the injury, is like, nah, man, I'm out. Like that. That to me, I don't know what the hell's going on there. I don't know. Like, to me, if I had one knee and my quarterback and my team was out there and I'm the quarterback, I'm out there. Like, that's just maybe that's just me, or that's what I would at least expect from my quarterback. But I'm wondering if this is as much of an injury issue or a holdout issue, like with
God,
money or frustration, or I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe I'm playing conspiracy theorist here with calling Mike McDaniel one and done, and maybe Lamar Jackson and the Ravens are a soap opera. I don't know.
that's why you come here for the takes.
That's why you come here for the takes, right? I think I'm onto something
I
though.
think
Like
you are, man.
what quarterback says, "Oh, I have a PCL injury. I'm not going to play in this playoff game." Let
Unless
alone a
I'm
guy that's been
100%.
an MVP. It doesn't make sense.
Well, that's the thing too. And he's so young, and even if you don't get your contract, you get tagged or you get traded or whatever it is, do you want to show your next team that you were willing to sit out on like literally a thing that only a handful of people of quarterbacks have ever been able to accomplish, like to get a ticket to the dance and then not go,
It's a
like
bold strategy.
yeah,
Bold strategy.
to me that's making this feel like the NBA.
Exactly.
I don't ever want the NFL to feel like the NBA. It's like, dude, if you
No.
get a shot at the Super Bowl, go take it.
Yep.
Beasley was holding his spinal column together and played. Like
Yeah.
let's go. There's got to be something, but it's a business, man. It's funny talking to ex players and stuff like Mark Maddox, stuff like that.
Mhm.
He'll tell you these guys, they got to get their money
They
because
do.
if it's not, your career could be over, and then there's
Right.
nothing.
Well, as far as that point too, the whole Damar Hamlin situation. He's a second-year safety, and the NFL collective bargaining agreement. Why the NFLPA would allow the NFL owners to write a document that says that you only get a pension if you've played in the league for 4 or more years. Troy Vincent really, really botched that one. I
Yeah,
mean, that
man.
that might be one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Even if that was like brought up in a negotiation, I'm the head of the NFLPA. I'm like, F that. Like that's bullshit. Like that doesn't even make sense. If you're in the NFL and something like that happens to you because you played in the game, you don't get covered for it because you've only been in the league for a year or two. Like that makes no sense.
No.
It's disgusting, to be
Well,
honest.
and the average career in the NFL is like 2 years, isn't it? Like,
Right,
so
right.
wouldn't you at least cover it there? You know what I mean?
At least,
You got
at
to be a
least cover it there.
superstar, like, to be able to get covered. I don't know.
And a lot of younger guys get hurt, I think, because of the fact that there is an adjustment period, like the speed of the game. They talk about it all the time, where these guys are not used to the speed of the game, to where they're maybe not tackling properly, or they're maybe not so blocking properly. I don't know. I couldn't believe that when I read that.
To that point, you have guys that train, like to James Cook. He
Hmm.
trained with Motor. He trained with his brother down in Florida. He'd been training with them for seasons and had trouble adjusting to the game. And running
Right,
back is supposed to be one of those positions that is the easiest to get adjusted to the speed of the game.
right.
Well, so yeah, I mean, I 100% agree with you. Why? If you're looking
Why?
out for the best interest of players, like, why are you letting a deal like that go through? No way.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Last and certainly not least, we got the Cowboys and the Buccaneers
And
on Monday Night Football.
the Don't Care Bowl. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. You said it, not me. I agree with you, but you said it first.
Well, so we talked about this one. I think I like Micah Parsons, dude. I really like him a
Oh
lot.
yeah,
Um,
stud.
Dak Prescott, man, who is this guy? I don't know who he is. I can't get it. I, I don't know. I just can't get a pulse on him.
Hmm.
It seems like he should be a stud, and there's games where he looks like it, and then there's games where he looks like,
He
who
looks
are you?
awful,
Yeah.
right? Yep.
And then the Bucks, Brady, and them limping in with a losing record, and God,
It's
and this
pretty
is
pretty rough.
so Tom Brady, dude. Watch him make it to like, ugh. So it all came down to, for me for this pick. I picked the Cowboys just because I don't want to see Brady get anywhere near it. I just don't.
I don't either.
You know,
I don't either, but I will say I think it would be so funny if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers whooped the Cowboys' asses, and just the shitstorm that would ensue from the Dallas fans as well as the national media that consistently force feeds the Dallas Cowboys down our throats to where we have to watch them almost every single week on Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, Thursday Night Football. The fact that this is a Monday night wild card round game is so stupid. This is a really bad matchup for starters. For
yeah,
all the reasons you stated, a losing Bucks team, Cowboys should roll through them. But I have a feeling the Cowboys that'll show up will be the accident waiting to happen Dallas Cowboys.
I'm
And
cool with that.
I could see Tampa winning this game. I really could. I would not be shocked in the slightest if that happened, and I would laugh hysterically if it did, because Dallas fans are just so in over their head with expectation. You mentioned Dak Prescott. I have him on my dynasty team with Josh Allen, and it's a two quarterback dynasty league. I'm
That's a good
gonna.
combo.
It is a good combo, yeah, but I am gonna work like hell potentially to send Dak packing. I just can't take the inconsistency. One week he's like 38 points, the next week he's like 7.
Yeah,
It's like I don't know what I'm getting anymore. So he might be out.
yeah.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. But
The funniest thing to me about that primetime game, right? And all of these are primetime games and whatever, but like
right,
I can think of all the storylines and even the Giants Vikings. I mean, I could watch that Monday night as opposed to the Cowboys Bucks. You know what I mean? Chargers Jags, dude. Like one of the most enticing.
that's a better game than the
Yeah,
Cowboys and Bucks by a
yeah,
lot.
by a lot. All the, like really, I'd rather see Geno versus the Niners. I don't know. It just blows my mind. It completely blows my mind. The Bills and the Dolphins, one of the biggest story, like
Biggest
we're
rivalries.
biggest rivalries, all
Yeah,
the junk and the superstars and the injury and all this crazy stuff, the heat and the snow and the drama. And you're putting like, I'm glad. Don't get me wrong. I'm so glad that game is at 1 o'clock tomorrow, but you don't put it prime
right.
time. What, are you kidding me? Everybody wants to see the Bills play right now.
Stupid,
Yeah,
absolutely stupid. This is like, I look at it in like terms of greed. Like the NFL's like, well, maybe this is our last chance to squeeze some dollars and
yeah,
cents out of the fan watching Tom Brady or the Dallas Cowboys. So we're just gonna put him on prime time. It's just like, didn't you cash in enough? The guy is 46 years
yeah,
old.
dude.
Like, didn't you
Lost
cash in
his
enough?
wife, lost his kids.
Lost his whole family on
Yeah,
his own, account, but still, I just do you think he's going to come back this
yeah,
next season? Do you think he's going to keep playing?
yeah. Oh yeah, I
I
think
do
he'll be in
too.
Las Vegas.
I
Yeah.
That's what I said.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I said. Josh McDaniels, Devontae Adams. Why
Yeah, he'll
not?
squeak another one out.
Another storyline that I'd want to bring up last and certainly not least. It's not Bills related, but I did tuck this one in my back pocket as we wrap up here. NFL storylines. Derek Carr. You mentioned the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on Derek Carr being traded, and the fact that he's definitely going to be traded? At the very least, he won't be a Raider again. What do you think of Derek Carr as a player and the whole situation with the Raiders? And as far as whether you think or not, what team do you think he could go to?
I've always liked Derek Carr. like in some aspect. I think people forget about like the ACDC, Amari Cooper, like making Amari Cooper's name, like how
Yeah.
fun they were back then, and then the injuries, and like he just had some bad luck. Always been a game manager. This season seems to have been like one of his worst for whatever reason, and admittedly have not been able to see every Raiders game or really wanted to.
Right.
Um, but you know, it seems like he got done dirty and then he reacted childishly to me. Like I would think that you'd at least want to be around your teammates. You'd want to be there. And I get feeling slighted.
Hmm.
But for an older quarterback who's got enough in him to be able to, keep a team in the mix, still at the age he is, I would think as a leader and, being a part of the Raiders organization for all that time, you want to be there.
Right.
You'd want to be there at least to like cheer on your teammates and stuff. I definitely can understand. The Davis family haven't actually like really been known for being like the calmest, most rational people in the world.
That's a
you know?
fact. That's a
So
fact.
I could see how it could probably get a little heated, a little emotional, whatever. So I don't know. I think it's a shitty circumstance, and I don't think he handled the best. I did see his like farewell like tweet or announcement or whatever, and I thought that was well written, and
Hmm.
made me feel a little bit for the guy. But as far as like top spots for him to land, um, man, I'm thinking the Jets. I think he,
Ooh,
I
that's an
think he,
interesting one.
I think he goes to the Jets and bridges a gap and gives Salah just enough time to be able to find, a good quarterback, draft and develop a good quarterback. I think Carr's a good guy to learn underneath. I think they need to go that old school kind of route
Hmm.
in Jersey because they got a great defense. They got some studs on offense that could
Garrett
really help
Wilson,
them.
Brees Hall.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, you got a lot of the parts there. I think you just need a guy like Derek Carr to come in, and then you need to draft a young guy for him to learn under. And don't reinvent the wheel. Let Carr lead you a season, maybe two, and see what happens. I think they could be very competitive. They could be in a wild card spot next year if they did something like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that is actually. I didn't even think of the Jets for whatever reason. I should have because Zach Wilson's just
Oh, he's gone.
god awful.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking there or what's going to happen there. But truthfully, I agree with you for sure on the fact that you don't want to see a player react in a way that makes you feel that makes him feel slighted. Obviously, he was slighted, but
yeah,
reacting to it, it's like in a way, I think it was like final straw. I am sick and tired of taking the high road with this
yeah.
dumpster fire. You guys hired John Gruden, and then emails leaked, and the emails were horrible.
Hmm.
They were 10 years old. Like
Hmm.
we'll throw that in there.
Sure.
Obviously, mistakes were made, but the guy lost his job over some bad emails. People should lose their jobs over much worse in our own political climate, but that's another topic for
Hmm.
another day.
Yep.
Derek Carr has endured a lot as a quarterback
Yeah,
in the NFL. Henry Ruggs was expected to be his number one wideout.
I
He
forgot about
crashed his
that.
vehicle and killed a woman and her dog. Um, just things that you can't even wrap your head around. That you literally say them and you're like, wow, this guy was enduring a lot as the quarterback of this quote unquote storied franchise.
Hmm.
But I think the moment they hired Josh McDaniels, they literally uh, peed on their own feet while on a standing. It's like, why would anyone feel that Josh McDaniels is good enough to be a head coach? I've never understood the fascination with Josh McDaniels. I know people will say Tom Brady, but much to your point, that's probably why Tom Brady will be playing for the Raiders next year, is because Josh McDaniels can only be decent when he's got Tom Brady as his
Yeah.
quarterback. So 47, 46 years old, however old he'll be, that's Josh McDaniels' best chance. And I feel like Derek Carr should go to a team like the Jets, potentially the Miami Dolphins. I'll throw that one out there as
Oh yeah.
well. That could happen. And that would make sense for all the reasons that we talked about already with Tua and McDaniel and everything of that nature. But Swank, man, we got a lot of fun topics discussed in this one. We talked about a lot of
Oh
fun
yeah,
things. So I really appreciate you hopping on.
yeah, man. Anytime. I'm glad I could do it.
Definitely great to get you on once again, and I'll be sure to keep you guys up to date on Sunday sessions. We're supposed to be on Sunday sessions at what time? 12:30?
11:30.
11:30? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, see, I would have been an hour late. Look at that.
Where is everybody?
Where's the Zoom link? Where am I at here? What's going on? I would have looked like Jared. I would have looked like Jared Goff in the Super Bowl. I would have been like,
I thought you were gonna say Jared Reed.
or Jared Reed. Oh man, jeez.
Poor guy. Did you see last Tuesday? We were getting all ready. We were excited. It was the first show with the fan base. Getting all that together, and he jumps on, and he's got his little baby, 4 kids now, and
Yeah.
his mic didn't work. So he had to use the laptop mic, and it was just like,
Oh, that's awful.
Whatever. It worked out fine.
Can't
I
do
just
that.
felt horrible. I felt horrible for him.
Well, congrats to him. And Scott's got another kid, and you're rocking out with the band and putting the content together, man. I'm loving it. I look forward to tomorrow's game just as much as you do. We're both looking forward to it.
Yes,
Swank, buddy, this was a great time. I love having you on, and I look forward to having you on again soon.
Hell yeah, man. Thank you so much. Love you. And hopefully we'll get to talk tomorrow on Sunday sessions.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, last and certainly not least, a score prediction.
Oh, yes. I'm going to warn you, dude. I went total homer on it, and I'm not going to budge from it. And usually I don't. I try to keep it like within the realm, but I've said it all week. I do not see any. I like feel bad for any team that gets in Josh Allen in this team's way right now. Like I just don't. I don't see it. Like if there is a sniff of like DeMar being on the jumbotron or anything like that, like it just forfeit. Just
Bills
forfeit.
by $1 billion.
Yeah,
right?
Man. So I did say, man, I think they're going to come out chugging. I think it's going to be very reminiscent of the Patriots game last year in the wild card spot. And I said 45-13 Buffalo Bills.
I got it going 41-3. Yeah.
I'm sitting here building this whole homer thing up, and you were right there with me.
I don't see in my brain how the hell the Miami Dolphins can score a touchdown.
Yeah.
I just don't. With no Raheem Mostert, they didn't last week. Right. Yeah. They got 3 field goals and a safety. I mean, there's a higher chance that they could get a safety in this one to me than a touchdown. Really, truthfully.
Real.
There's a higher chance that they could get a safety in this one, even in comparison to a field goal.
Yeah.
I really feel that in terms of like field position, all that stuff. I don't know. Miami is going to look really bad, and I think Mike McDaniel is going to have
some explaining to do.
Yeah, a lot to explain after this one, for sure.
I like it.
Awesome. Let's go Bills, right?
Hell yeah, go Bills.
Go Bills. Thanks for hopping out with me, Swank. Folks, looking forward to giving you guys a post-game recap right around 4:30, 5 o'clock tomorrow. As soon as the game wraps up, I will be back on to recap the action. Hopefully it is a 41-3 or a 45-10, did you
13.
say? 45-13? Okay. So you're spotting them 10 more points. Hey, I hope the score is either one of those. We'll just say that.
Yeah. As long as it covers.
Right, as long as it covers. Take care, buddy.
You too, brother.
Alrighty, that was Swank from 24/7 Buffalo Fandemonium, a good buddy of mine. Awesome to have him join me on the podcast. Really love having guests on the show, and I'm going to work towards making sure that I have as many guests as I possibly can on the show. It's been a crazy season, a season that, like I said, unprecedented adversity. But nonetheless, I'm Ryan Thomas. Bills, Dolphins, Sunday, 1 o'clock, Highmark Stadium. Go Bills.